Humanity has always had a weird obsession with the idea of fate, perhaps as a way to explain the unknown, to find certainty in the uncertain future. Divinations, predictions, prophecies. With fate came the idea of luck, that people have predetermined outcomes and destinations. Gambling first started as such, as a way to bet and wager possessions, but foremost as a way to test one's luck. Even before written history, dices have existed. From astrogally, played in ancient Greece and Rome, to the Egyptian Senate and the Mesoamerican Ptolemy, gambling has always been a worldwide phenomenon. But what is so appealing about risking belongings and fortunes for the off chance that you win? Like any finely tuned machines, the smallest variable could have an impact on our decision making. And yet there are recurring trends in those who choose to gamble. Amongst most problematic gamblers exists a common link: escapism. Victims are often unsatisfied with their life, seeking the thrill and dopamine boost from gambling as a way to block out stress, loneliness, anxiety, or depression. But escapism alone doesn't warrant gambling. Why not just read books or play video games? Modern gambling gives a sense of control. People believe there are strategies that skill alone could manipulate chance in their favor. Unfortunately, that is not the case. At the end of the day, casinos are still a business, and a vastly profitable one at that. Unprofitable games would not be kept. Even blackjack, with a perfect basic strategy, leaves the house on a 0.5% edge. At the end of the day, gambling remains a game of chance. In a sense, people in the past had a better understanding of gambling than those today. A game of fate and luck, not mathematics. Another appeal is the quick win nature of gambling. As opposed to traditional ways of making money, gambling is perceived as an easy and efficient pathway to fortune. Combined with early wins feeding false confidence, this can quickly
I've
develop
lost
into
so
a
much
destructive
money, but I
habit.
have to keep
Big
gambling
hits
if
based
I
on
want to
chance triggers
win.
the brain's
You just
dopamine
gotta keep it
response, a
right, man.
system that
It's all
triggers
in
with
the future.
achievement
Oh yeah?
to aid
Yeah,
motivation.
you're about to see
This
about
unfortunately
that.
backfires in the case of gambling. It
Winner!
motivates people to
Someone
push
second
further,
spot with
hunting for the
$50
next big payout.
Let's go!
The Ridotto was the first recorded European gambling house, established in 1638 in Venice to provide regulated gambling during carnival seasons. As both a social hub and a specialized area to gamble, casinos quickly exploded in popularity. By the colonial era, smaller buildings known as saloons were popping up across North America, offering meals but mainly specialized for selling goods and services like gambling, prostitution, and drugs. State legislation introduced at the start of the 19th century outlawed gambling, but was repealed first in 1931 in the state of Nevada. This head start facilitated the growth of Las Vegas as a major gambling center. Of course, no industry can grow without innovation and intervention, so how do casinos innovate in their appeal and intervene in popular decision-making? Research has repeatedly shown that various environmental factors can contribute to gambling tendencies: lighting, sound, smell, color. These are not unnoticed by casinos, who often implement specific designs to capitalize. The very token now synonymous with casinos, chips, originated as a way to detach the monetary value from a wager. People become less aware of the money slipping away. A single chip placed labeled 500 does not feel the same as individually removing $500 bills from your wallet. Similar to credit cards, one must be more attentive to spending via proxy. In terms of something more subtle, you may have noticed that casinos hold a distinct lack of clocks and windows. By removing the stimuli of natural light and any visible signs of time, it's easier for people to lose themselves in the incessant jingle of the slot machines. As well, casinos carefully control what you smell. Smoke neutralizers and scents are used to induce a feeling of refreshness and relaxation in players. Even the very placement of the casino floors are often designed to maximize time spent by passerbys, whether it be placing cashiers further from the exit or ensuring hotel entry passes by the casino. The design of the machines themselves contribute. Slot machines often show near misses despite unchanging odds between spins, giving players the false impression that they're much closer to a win than in reality. But just how big is this industry? Nevada, being the most reliant state on gambling money in the United States of America, reported a net income of 1.7 billion USD in 2025. The World Health Organization, despite concerns about the social impact of gambling, projects the worldwide sector to reach upwards of 700 billion USD by 2028. In terms of Canada, we see annually $15.3 billion, which is the combined economic output of the film, TV, music, and professional sport industries in Canada. It's not all negative. Government-regulated gambling often imposes a sin tax, reaching upwards of 57% in Canada with revenue funding programs like healthcare and infrastructure. The Casino Helsinki, owned by the government of Finland, for example, operates as a non-profit organization with all profits donated to charity. This is also present in Asia. China has strict anti-gambling laws on the mainland, with few designated zones for strictly regulated and heavily taxed casinos. Japan, on the other hand, has completely criminalized most forms of gambling, with exceptions made for lottery and sports due to government income reasons as well as entertainment reasons. Despite this, gambling addiction remains a heavy problem, mostly perpetuated by pachinko machines in Japan, which has remained due to cultural reasons. Recently, there has been a shift towards a digital market. The barrier to gamble has been lowered by the emergence of prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi, and the growing prevalence of sites like State.com. Along with easier access, unregulated digital platforms also expose kids to gambling, especially through social media platforms like Kick, or even the occasional YouTube short promoting such behavior. More disguised forms of gambling also exist. Gashapon machines, which involve random chance to pull a toy from a capsule, exchange money for physical good. But this concept seeped into the video game industries in the early 2000s. Games like Counter-Strike and Overwatch both involve loot box mechanics, purchased with real currency, and playing animations reminiscent of slot machines when opened. These mechanics are often implemented to incentivize players to spend on in-game cosmetics, but can very feasibly lead to real-world gambling problems later in life. Another gamified gambling exists in the form of gacha games. New characters are often limited, utilizing the fear of missing out and the appeal of scarcity to encourage pulling. The existence of a pity system, often set at values too egregious to be justified, adds an element of sunk cost fallacy. In terms of sports betting, people are motivated by the justification that one is showing support for the player or team. Despite this, profits rarely go towards the organizers and the players of the events, rather pocketed by third parties. Unregulated markets for sports betting are estimated to reach a combined value of $1 trillion globally. In conclusion, gambling is not inherently evil. Risk is not always bad. After all, living is full of risks. The economy is uncertain, stocks could lose you everything, but the differentiator is in moderation. As a form of entertainment, playing a hand of blackjacks with $10 stakes or opening a crate in Counter-Strike never hurts. But it's a slippery slope, harder to stop the more you slide down. I believe that with government supervision and proper awareness, the gambling problem can be heavily mitigated. In the perfect world, the occasional gamble cycles back to society in its entirety, helping build a better future for all.